When you are working with algebraic terms or algebraic expressions, as in this exercise that we've got over here, then you need to, first of all, determine whether you are adding and subtracting, either of those, or whether you are multiplying and dividing. Those two distinct legs of the operations are very important for you to make right at the beginning. Whenever you look at any of these questions, you need to make that choice first. And what you'll do then is, if you decide that you are working with add or subtract, then you can think of something like, for instance, money. If you think of a positive and a negative number, negative number is when you owe somebody money, positive number is when you actually have the money. So -4 plus 7 is you owe somebody 4 Rand, you have 7, you can pay them what you have, you'll have 3 Rand left. So your answer will be +3. Change it around where you've got -7 plus 4, then it means you owe somebody 7, you have 4, you can pay what you have, but you'll still owe 3. So -7 plus 4 is equal to -3. Then also adding the various algebraic terms means you can think in terms of fruit, for instance, apples and pears. So you'll make, for instance, if you have something like x squared plus 3x squared, you just need to remember that you have a 1 if there is no other number in front of any variables, and then you can consider the x squareds to be, for instance, apples or oranges or bananas, whatever you want. So then you've got 1 apple plus 3 apples will give you 4 apples. Just make sure that your variables are always distinguished from each other by virtue of fruit names, if you like, or anything that you prefer to distinguish them from each other. But when you multiply or divide, a whole set of other rules kick in. Because for the multiply and divide, you can think of something like the SNV rule. S stands for signs, N is for numbers, and V is for variables. Signs is the minus times by minus is a plus, or a plus times by minus is a minus. That's what you do with signs. So you literally take every multiplication or division operation, every single one of them, and you do it in these 3 distinct steps. Remember that every single multiplication is done in 3 distinct steps. Once you get used to this, you can do it in one go. But to get going with the operations, to get comfortable with the algebra, it's very important for you to do it in 3 distinct steps. So do the signs first. The numbers are just normally your times table, so there's nothing much to that. And then when you work with the variables, you can work with your exponential laws. So every single multiplication that you do, or division, do it signs, done and dusted. Numbers, done and dusted. Then your variables, every one of them, your x's, your y's, your z's, etc., one by one, until you've got everything sorted in little increments. Then your final answer will be correct, and you'll notice that it isn't really that difficult to get to the final answer if you can just do it in these distinct steps. But remember, there's a difference between adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing. Very often students get those wrong. They've got an expression, for instance, if you look at that first one we've got over there, and they see the pluses and the minuses, and they automatically want to start multiplying. But if you look, for instance, at question number A, you'll notice that it isn't multiplication. There's no multiplication anywhere. You've got, for instance, there your apples, and there's another set of apples. Then there could be your oranges, and then the numbers all by themselves will just be the money. So if you can learn how to distinguish between add and subtract and multiply and divide before you start with any one of these questions, then you'll find that it actually is very easy to complete this whole exercise, even though it is a pretty long exercise, but it gives you a lot of revision exercises and practice in doing operations with algebraic expressions.